Hello. Maybe I don't really have to use the microphone, but thanks for coming. Familiar faces and new friends. Um, yes, this meeting is a private meeting, and this is going to be a kickstart for this 3-month campaign called DV Safe Sanctuary Campaign. And I am a co-owner of Ornithology, but also I'm a vice president of jazz nonprofit called Gotham Yardbird Sanctuary. And I can just quickly tell you guys the history of how the nonprofit made a bridge to create this Ornithology Jazz Club. Um, so our nonprofit started it during the pandemic, and obviously during the pandemic, me and my husband, who just retired from a pretty established jazz club called Smalls Jazz Club in the West Village. He started out 30 years ago by himself and became a manager under new ownership. I guess 12 years ago, I can't really remember. That's my husband, Mitch Borden. And he retired from Smalls a little bit before the pandemic started it. And we actually had a really enormous plan to do something for the after school thing in Harlem. Was meaning to purchase a big building over there, but it kind of fell apart because of the pandemic. Like all the sponsors and all that just kind of fell through. But I kind of wanted to do something still and kind of wanted to encourage him without the like a millionaire investors. We can do something small, and definitely some actions were needed during the pandemic, and all our friends are basically jazz musicians in the city, so we decided to form this very independent jazz nonprofit, and we will call it GYS because it's a long name. And we actually only was being active at this place. It used to be called Bodeguita. And I was lucky enough to have like a steady gig here once a week as a singer and a drummer. And I have played here, and then pandemic happened, and I just kind of wanted to keep that once a week music thing happening from the pandemic money that we received from the city. And that's how our nonprofit kind of started it. So it's very small scale, it's pretty much self-invested, and after doing that for the, I don't know, like a year full of just self-investing, bring in the musicians that we know, hire them as a sideman along myself, and then the owner of the bodeguita kind of wanted to sell the business after those ordeals, and we found the investors, and then we bought the business, and the ornithology started it that way. Yeah. And now we've been ornithology for 2 years, almost 2 years. It's incredible too. Thank you. Yeah. So that's how our nonprofit started it, and then we all still actually pretty active. Ornithology is not the nonprofit though. I just call it like Ornithology is like a for-profit headquarter of the GYS. So we kind of try to reflect all the things we kind of wanted to say in the nonprofit, which would be like trying to make the jazz accessible to the people. So we started out as a no-cover jazz club, and we recently started to have like $5 cover, pretty accessible for over the weekends. And also like trying to be very conscious about sustainability, and and talk about like fair budget for the music within like I don't know, trying to make it affordable but trying to pay them right somewhat and create the system like that inside of the club situation or the beyond. So we try to secure at least like 100 per musician or 100 and plus per any kind of gig that we offer through the nonprofit. And that's we're trying to reflect that in ornithology as a for-profit business. And I hope we can really do justice enough for the payment without making it unaffordable for people. And I really appreciate the customers to be really supportive, and I think people can feel that, our intention, and happy to be getting into the second year. And now we'll talk about how this 3-month campaign for the domestic violence got into my attention. It's actually when I started out 7-month project called GYS Ladybirds Rising 2023, I initially had this 3-month campaign had in my mind at the beginning. And I wanted to say something about female, and we rise up to talk about things. But I wanted to make it kind of gradual and build it up because at the beginning I didn't know how, and I didn't know how to organize something that's in a big scale of thing. But it is definitely inspired by 2 of my best friends that they will be sharing the music and their stories about domestic violence. And it definitely needed some kind of action for me, especially for somebody that has a position to be able to create something through the nonprofit or the business. And when I was just thinking about it, I met Christian from Womankind, kind of by accident. At the brunch at the Ornithology, he came through, and I was talking to one of my collaborators, Nicole from nonprofit Clean Bushwick Initiative, and then we were just talking about, well, I have something like this in my mind, and he told me he works for this organization called Womankind, and it started to kind of become a project, so like step by step, and then next thing I know is like I had a chance to collaborate with the Claudia at the Bushwick Gallery, and it was really great, meaningful, like social justice type of exhibition. We did, great collaboration together for me to curate some jazz music for the event. And I also started to talk to Claudia about how I met Christian. So it's just like really, to me, was like a destiny for my inspiration to materialize and become something. Yeah, so this meeting is, to me, it's like the summary of all the destinies that came to me because of this inspiration. So first, I would really like to introduce you guys the Claudia. She became a co-producer for this campaign, and also she allowed me to use the front lawn of KODA residency house in the Governor's Island. So it just kind of, when I was talking with Claudia, I had a chance to talk with the people in the Governor's Island. So the event became in a bigger scale. And she had she just fully understood the importance of this campaign and the event, and supported me through like organizing a lot of things. So she's from art nonprofit KODA, and we'll be using the space in front of their residency house in the Governor's Island in October as a final event. So first, let me introduce Claudia from KODA.
Hi, everyone. Wow, it feels absolutely special to be in this place. I had no idea that this carpet was so soft. I came to the club so many times, and I just love it. I love ornithology and Gotham Yardbird Sanctuary, and actually when I was looking for the perfect collaborator for the exhibition 1-800 Happy Birthday, that Ria mentioned that we collaborated to create jazz events. Gotham Yardbird Sanctuary was on my mind, and it's just such an incredible mission to support musicians, and especially in the time of the pandemic, it was super needed. So yeah, I always am in the audience where it's like very crowded, and this is just like super nice. So yeah, Ria, thank you so much for organizing this. It's very special to kick off the DV Safe Sanctuary campaign with all of you here, and I'm very grateful for your time and engagement and all the conversations that started happening. And there is still so much to do before October 1st and before October, the Domestic Violence Prevention Month. So just a quick introduction. My name is Claudia von Adraber. I am the founder and currently the executive director of KODA. KODA is a social practice residency for mid-career artists. So we do exhibitions, residencies, and arts education programs. We are nomadic, but since it's been now in our third year, we've been lucky to, for the third time, be on Governor's Island. It's a beautiful place, very close to the city, but very quiet, and allows for a lot of just breathing and reflection. The artists that we work with, they are mid-career artists. They also do a lot of social justice and social practice work. As a curator, I kind of don't see a point, at least for me, to do anything else. There is so much that we can contribute to, so why not do that? And partnerships are a huge part of how we operate. So I'm very grateful once again to Ria for this idea and this invitation, and creating this campaign and inviting all of us to collaborate on the DV Safe Sanctuary campaign. Is there anything else I am supposed to say? Or do you have any questions?
Oh yeah, if anybody has a question.
All right, so back to Ria.
Thank you, Claudia. And then I would like to introduce you guys to two of my best friends. I've been knowing them for a long time. I'm making music with them many times. And they are going to share a very private, intimate story about domestic violence that inspired me so much, about their courage to, resist and stand up for themselves and the people that live in the darkness in general. And first speaker will be Julia.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you, Claudia. It's such an awesome collaboration. And I'm very glad and honored to share my story with you who dedicate their lives to humanitarian issues such as domestic violence. It really means the world. And so what happened to me about 2.5 years ago? Oh, maybe I introduce myself first. I'm Julia Penn. I've been on the New York City jazz scene for about 10 years. I'm from Germany. I have a little son who is a year old now. And so what happened 2.5 years ago, it was New Year's Eve from 2020 to 2021. I got brutally beaten up, and I'm very lucky to be here today to share that story. because there could have been one more hit or one wrong hit and I wouldn't be here. The perpetrator is a jazz musician too, and we've been not close, but I've been knowing him for many years, and he's accepted by the community and has almost like a star status. And in the pandemic, we became much closer. We started to hang out, and I learned much more about him. And that's the start of the pandemic. And then in 2020 on New Year's Eve, he called me and said, hey, we have this engagement. We are booked to go abroad and perform for 2 weeks, and the pay is pretty good, and the hotel is taken care of. And so I went over to his place and we played for a few hours, and we had a few drinks, and at 11:10 p.m. at night, I just felt like, okay, I'm going home now. I didn't have any plans for New Year's Eve, and so there was no argument, and he just got up from the chair and knocked me to the ground and beat me. I passed out, and then he pushed me out the door after a few minutes. And so it's weird, it's strange. I didn't go, I walked even by a police station, but it was the last thing on my mind to go to a doctor or go to the police. I just wanted to, I was still crying, I was still trying to catch my breath for at least an hour after it happened, because I was choked also. And so I just wanted to go to my bed and feel safe and lay there and shiver. And a few days later, I called Ria, I told her about it, and she said, you come here right now. And I spent a few days with her, and it gave me the courage to go to the police, and I reported it. And then I had counseling, and a half a year later, I felt my strength coming back, and I said, okay, I can't continue life in my apartment, not going anywhere. I mean, I came here to play music, and I'm afraid to go to any club. I'm afraid to work on the things I've been working on, because he might be in the neighborhood and identify my sound. So I said, okay. So I called the club owner, where I also met him, and we've been regular, both of us, there for many years, and I get hired at the club. So I was like, I have to go back. So I called the club owner and I told him the story, and I said, I have an order of protection and under no circumstances he can't be there. And he said, oh, we're looking forward to have you back. No problem, it'll be taken care of. Please come back. A few days later, I stand in front of the club and the perpetrator walked right by me. And it turned out that nobody was informed, even though we know each other all for years. So the doorman, the manager, nobody knew about the incident. And so maybe I was a bit hysterical, but I said, hey, he has to leave now. I called, your boss knows about the story, and I'm going to call the police, because that's what everybody told me to do when I see him. And so he didn't leave. I obviously didn't have the club on my side, and then I called the police, and they interviewed me on one side of the street and him on the other side of the street. And in the end, after 1 hour, they asked me, okay, what do you want to do now? And of course I wanted to go home. But I also felt like I don't have the law or the club on my side. And after I got this courage together to go out again, that experience was even more devastating. And I felt like I have to move out of the city. There's no future. I'm going to leave, and I actually made plans to move, but I'm still here. So yeah, I'm still here. And believe me, it would have been, or it is very easy to just put that experience in a box and hide it in the depth of your soul and just go along and pretend nothing ever happened. But also I'm super grateful that we have this event and I can share this story. It's a very little thing to the big cause, but I think it all starts with a story, and I hope other women or men can find encouragement in sharing their story. So this whole event is to bring awareness to victims, but also to businesses, that domestic violence victims have rights and that they are protected. And I'm just very glad that I can speak here, and I think that's where real healing is happening in trying to make a change. And so I thank you all very much. I think that's it for now.
Thank you, Julia, for your courage. And we would like to invite Kyoko to share her story.
All right. Hello. Right. My name is Kyoko Urobe. I'm a piano player from Japan. I came to New York in 2000 the first time to experience real jazz in New York. And I met small jazz club in the West Village. And I met Mitch and Rie that time. And I thought, wow, I had to come back to get just like real jazz into my body. So then I started going back and forth Japan to New York. And then in 2005, I moved to New York. And now I'm here. All right. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. My parents have 6 children in 10 years. So, and I'm the second one, like boy, girl, boy, boy, girl, boy. And this story is about my younger sister. We lost her in 2015 in October. She was killed by her husband 3 days after marriage. I was lucky. I was in Japan to have my Japanese tour. I was bringing my band to Japan every year to have a tour. So I could see her before she passed away. And it was nice. Rie and Mitch visited my parents' house that time, so we hung together too. And yeah, my younger sister in 2015, like I was there in June, July, a little bit, and she told me she found a nice guy, she met a nice guy, and she wanna marry him. And then I said, that's good, I'm happy that you found someone. And then, I don't know if I met him that time. Yeah, anyway. So I went back to Japan again in October for the tour. So before the tour starts, we had little time, so we hung, and I met him with his mother, and they came to talk to us because they are getting married. I said, I don't know what to say. He didn't look like normal. That's no normal, anything like that, but I could feel it, I don't know, something like, really she wants to marry this guy? I had feeling, and then, but she liked him so much, and my family, my parents felt maybe same, but they didn't say anything because she likes it, so what can we do? And then after that, few days later, at that time she was already living with him, and then she visited us in the morning before she goes to work. She was crying that the guy hit her face for nothing. And I told her, oh, okay, you have to stop this now. If he does that now, it's gonna go more and later. So you have to stop. No marriage, of course, just stop. And you come back here. She said, okay. And she left work, but she didn't come back that day. And she went back to the guy and I asked, are you okay? And she said, it's okay. We talked, it's okay now. Then I had to go to my tour. I had to leave my hometown and then started having a tour, going to another city. And then after a week or so, we were coming back to my hometown for the concert. And the concert was supported my family. My family is so supportive, and then we rented a big concert hall, and then my family was supporting us. And then we were coming back to the hometown that day. It was Wednesday. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't have time to go back to my parents' house, so we just went to the concert hall, have a sound check, blah blah, and then I saw my parents, my brothers, and there I didn't see my sister, but I thought she was coming later, and then I felt a little tension from my brother, one of my brothers, but he was always like that, so I thought, okay, it's like that. And then we did the concert, and I still didn't see my sister. I thought she was there, but no, she didn't come, so strange. Then right after we finished playing, like audiences are talking to me, and then I was talking to them, but my mother told me, you have to come back home right now, immediately. I said, wow, you can ask my boyfriend, now he's my husband, he was there with us, so my mother told me to ask him to take care of the musicians, to bring them to the restaurant or something. So I said, okay, I had to go back home. So I drove home. And then when I got home, my parents' house, all my family, my parents, of course, and my 4 brothers there, and their wives are there. And we are sitting down at a big table. It was very abnormal because they are quiet. And they said, okay, everybody gets drinks and let's celebrate after the concert. And okay, it's not really normal for us to do this, because usually more like frank, but sitting down like this, and then I still didn't see my sisters. I said after a while. So I think something happened to her, right? Because she's not here, and then they started telling me the story that what happened to her, that she got she got beaten up when the Friday, the week before Friday, and then her husband beat her up for really no reason, like he was maybe drunk, I don't know, and he left her. He didn't call ambulance or anything. He just left her, let her die. And then it happened Friday night, and then he called my parents on Sunday morning to let them know that my father answered the phone, and then the guy told him that she said she's gone. And what does it mean? Is she dead? Yes. And my father asked, did you call police? He said yes. So my parents and one of my brothers, they went to their house immediately, and then by the time they arrived there, the police were there, and the guy was just taken by the police. And then after that, they were called by police to go see my sister's body. It was really terrible. He had a choke mark, terrible face. And then, that was crazy. And then they still did a concert for us because we had like 450 people coming, so we couldn't cancel. So we did a concert, and then so that's what I was told at the table after the concert. And then I said, where is she now? Then they opened the door for the Japanese room we had next to the living room. And I saw all the decoration and then the coffin. The next morning was a funeral. We do it at home, so Sarah and I saw her there. And I just kept crying like crazy. And then next morning, the mom came and we had funeral. And I still had go to tour. I had to keep going the tour, and we went. I had to drive with the musicians, and then we went to the city next, our hometown, and then that was the hardest day for me ever. Like how I could do, but I couldn't cancel. My musician said you could cancel, but I can't. But since that day, something really changed in my life. The pain that's really here. Yeah, she was 32 years old, pretty young. But what is funny, she always wanted to marry. So then the day she got married, they went to City Hall. My sister called my brother that, hey, I got married before my older sister. That's what she told. Okay, she did it. That's great. But I still remember my father said, if you kill her, just give her back to us. I mean, you don't need to kill her. That's what my father said. Anyway, so the guy went to jail for 6 years and a half. The Japanese law is still very not strict at all. I mean, what he did, and then maybe it's here, maybe it could be longer, right? But in Japan, no. So I'm sure he's out already. But my family decided to not fight with him. We said, let's hope, because we got to know he was married before and he had a kid before. We didn't know why he got divorced. Then we got to know later that he got divorced because he did this to his ex-wife. So his ex-wife left him to protect herself. We didn't know. We knew before then we could protect her better way, like not losing her. So, and then we got to know that he was also beaten up by his parents, like his father or mother. So we hope he's not going to do this. He's going to make his life better way, because it's pretty sad to do this. Like the feeling of beating up someone if you kill someone, it's like how you can live like with the things like that. So we hope he's gonna have better life, and then not and it was too sad to thinking like if we start thinking about him or try to fight, then our sadness is gonna keep going forever. And my mother was destroyed too, of course. And we decided not really relate with him at all. Let's cut it now. That's what we did it. And then for myself, for a while, I don't know why, the violent things, my not thoughts, even like image, like if I see this guy outside, I start beating up. That's what like I had like a desire, like it's scary that the violence goes like that, I think. But of course I didn't do that, but that's like image was kept coming back to me for a while. But and then after that I got married, and then I got a baby. He's now 6 years old. I got very busy with my life, and as time goes by, it's kind of hit. And but my message for victims, like people who is in the situation, I would really want to tell them, please escape from those violence. but if you are kids, it must be very difficult to escape because. But I really appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, Julia, everyone like supporting, like thinking. But I really appreciate that Ria has been thinking and giving like how like, dedicated for herself, like thinking for the people because of hearing our stories inspired her and then making this. We really appreciate and thank you so much. Yeah. And myself, I would like to keep going my life with my creating more music, and if I can hear people with music, it would be wonderful. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So because of these courageous two of my best friends, here we are in a probably very grassroots type of movement. This is campaign, but our intention is to prevent incidents like Kyoko and Julia shared with us to happen again. And each of us can be sensitive to what people might be going through when their face seems in something might be bothering them. Oftentimes they might be like suffering from something that's very hard to share with other people. And we with the help of Womankind, we wanted to create the resource kit to share with as many people as possible, make it shareable PDF, and make a campaign which can be superficial, but I wanted to use the ornithology Instagram status, which is becoming, we're just getting more and more followers. We're almost reaching up to 10K followers. That means we could do something, even though social media can be superficial, it can be a way to deliver the information to many, many people. So I created a QR code that's linked to the resource kit that we created it. And this is going to be a big part of the campaign. We have like different layers of the activities inside of the 3-month campaign. And one of the biggest one is to deliver this resource kit that has a lot of information. First, it talks about what is domestic violence. It's just not limited to the physical, and it could be emotional, financial, but it's a government side that's linked to the first part. And I wanted to feature Womankind and the Center for Violence Education. That will be our two programming partner for our final event in October. So we put them as a featured support system that's available in New York City. And the Christian suggested me to put more resources. So we added like 2 different links that connects you to a lot of informations that DV victims and survivors can have in the New York City or New York State area. And the third part is basically talking about different tiers of human rights for the DV victims in the city, in the state, in the federal. So it's a great information for you to be able to deliver to those who suffer from DV incidents. If they're at a loss, you can tell their human rights. And, they have a way to report the case. It's just greater information, especially such as Julia's case when she was dealing with like police that didn't really comply with human rights for the DV victims. If you have the information, you can actually show that to police. You have to protect me in this manner, something like that, So it's really important information for you to have and for you to share as many people as possible to make this really like a worse, like the grassroots movement at the core. Like you will become the people that will have important information for the victims and survivors of domestic violence. And I really thank Christian and Yasmin from the Womankind to look into Julia's case, and that's when we found what she experienced at the venue is an illegal act, not to, decide not to protect the DV victims. Before that, we were not 100% sure, even though in our heart it was wrong. Morally, obviously very wrong. But it was wrong in a legal situation as well. And it kind of gave us really strong standing of what we're doing. So I really thank you guys for the support. And I do have a handout. I don't know if you guys look at it. You can take a look afterward, but it really consists of what is this campaign is made of. Besides this, the shareable QR code that's connected to the resource kit, we will be doing different things such as we have like a dedicated fundraising site that's been active since March for this GYS Ladybirds Rising 2023. And this 3 months from now until the October will be dedicated for the fundraising for the DV Safe Sanctuary campaign. So whatever that's being donated to, we will share it with our partner nonprofits. 50% will go to the Womankind, 30% will go to the Center for the Anti-Violence Education, and us, GYS and the KODA will share 10% each of all the fundraising effort that we made. And underneath of it, I also kind of wanted to make it as much, I don't know, it's grassroots, but I wanted to extend it and then ask for the help from the people that's around ornithology, the like very passionate, talented people that come here. So one of it is green e-commerce vendor. And this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now is made by Chloe. And she's the featured vendor for the month of July. And Emmy's gonna take care of the September. She's our bartender at Ornithology. So they will dedicate 10% of their sale. And their items are really, sustainability conscious. It's really upcycled, beautiful, artistic clothing and, the things that's fun, but also like purposefully made. So they're gonna join into this fundraising campaign by dedicating 10% of their total sale for each month of July and September. And other thing that I'm thinking to add on to this campaign on top of trying to spread the information of the resource kit would be I wanted to have like an intimate experience with the DV survivors, and I thought the best way is to bring the music to the shelters that Womankind has over the city. And after talking with Christian, we decided to do it at the community centers, where more people could be experiencing that on top of just their clients. And I think it'll be a great thing. We're organizing it, a few of the concerts like that in conjunction of some like alternative trauma healing experience or workshops, potting or yoga, something like that. This I will have to figure out in coming weeks or coming months, but that's what we're planning to do, and that will be part of the campaign before our final events on, like it's 2 days event, both on Sundays, at the KODA residency house outside of the residency house area. It'll be first day will be like workshops from the Womankind and the Center for Anti-Violence Education, and the second day will be more about the trauma healing through the art, panel discussion with the artists, and the performance by Julia and Kyoko, and also a bass player that we asked to join. And this will be the time to introduce Womankind representatives. And would you both like to speak? The Christian from Womankind.
Thank you all for coming. I really don't have much to say. I want to thank you both for sharing your story. I really appreciate the courage that takes, and appreciate you inspiring us all to action. And I want to thank Ria for bringing us all together and for getting the ball rolling on this. And so with that, I'll introduce Jennifer from Womankind.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out. I'm Jennifer Lay from Womankind. I am the Community Education and Outreach Manager. So just to introduce Womankind, we are a New York City based nonprofit. We used to be called the New York City Asian Women's Center. Our mission is to use the multidimensionality of our Asian heritage to work alongside survivors of gender-based violence as they build their own paths of healing. This means that we use our history, our cultural perspectives, our insight, our language capabilities to provide holistic care for our survivors. Our vision is to build a world where we can rise above violence, communicate and innovate towards collective well-being, restoration, and social justice. Thank you for Kyoko and Julia for sharing your stories. I really hold them close to my heart, as our staff as well when we have clients come in. So Womankind has been around since 1982. We've had 4 decades of providing multilingual and culturally humble services. Our 24/7 helpline has expanded to phone, text, and chat with 18 different languages. We have 3 community offices, one in Elmhurst, one in Sunset Park, and one in Chinatown. We're working on making sure that we don't take up space and ensure that our survivors in our Asian communities are heard and cared for. We have 2 confidential shelters to support survivors of gender-based violence, as well as our main office in downtown Manhattan. Again, we also have counseling, wellness groups, youth mentorship, empowerment programs, and community education and outreach, which I am in charge of. We also have in-house legal services, all tailored to meet our survivors' needs. It's really important to us to make sure that the survivors are heard and prioritized. So these services are all free, confidential, and open to anyone in need of our services. It's tailored to these ever-changing needs, and we don't ever refuse any services. And 60% of our clients are Asian, 80% are female identifying, and 50% have limited English proficiency. We at Womankind think it's very important to take an intersectional lens, especially when we are dealing with domestic violence, sexual violence, human trafficking, and other forms of gender-based violence. We make sure to include everyone of all genders, all sexual orientations, races, and class to ensure that our services are open for everyone. Our average client demographic is an Asian woman with about 15,000 annual family income, limited English proficiency, and 2 children to support. Knowing this, we are always open and supportive of survivors who tell their story. We know that survivorship exists, whether or not spoken or unspoken, and therefore we thank you for the bravery that it takes to come forward with these stories. It's also important for us as community members to advocate for those who can't tell their stories due to stigma, fear, or just any barrier truly that we want to address and to get over. In 2021, we served over 17,000 survivors and addressed over 3,000 helpline inquiries. For the past 2 years, we've been able to distribute $200,000 to more than 100 families in emergency. We hope to continue this support, and we recognize the importance and urgency of our mission today. We want to acknowledge that law enforcement and other providers, if you choose to disclose, need to have that trauma-informed perspective. And we at Womankind ensure that we can provide accurate interpretation for our clients, as well as ensuring that their rights and access to services are always available for help. Again, I appreciate the stories that were shared, and we hope to know that community care is always available for everyone. In April, we had a panel about Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we got to talk to different EDs of culturally specific services, which was a really wise conversation about our current responses to community needs, as well as how we can reimagine a world without violence. And I think a big part of this is not only our individual responsibility to helping survivors of gender-based violence, but community responsibility to make sure that businesses are accountable for protecting domestic violence survivors. We want to make sure that there is a world where there is no more gender-based violence, and we thank you for your continued support, and we hope to continue the conversation around how to sustainably support survivors of gender-based violence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian and Jennifer from Womankind. And this is the time to introduce Bianca from the Center for Anti-Violence Education.
Okay, let's see. Hi there, everyone. Hi there. I like the trick that you had here with the putting it on your chin. Does this sound all right for folks? I'm not used to the mic. All right, hello, everyone. My name is Bianca. I go by they, them pronouns, and I work for the Center for Anti-Violence Education, otherwise known as CAE. So with the time that I have with y'all, I wanted to talk a little bit about our history, our mission, who we serve and what we do, a little bit about our programs. We have these 3 main buckets of programming, so a little bit about our workshops, my history with the organization, and then I was hoping, if we have some time before our performances, I was going to impart a couple of the strategies that we like to use in our classes. So we'll get a chance for y'all to have a moment of independent participation. But to get us started, I just wanted to, as has already been said, echo thank you to the folks who came and who shared their stories. Thank you to the organizers for bringing us together here in this space. Even if you are somebody who has not personally experienced violence, I think that domestic violence, intimate partner violence, these things touch our lives regardless of our personal experiences. And it's so, so significant to come together, to share, to speak, because when we start talking and when we start sharing our stories, that's a big part of when healing happens. So I really appreciate y'all for coming forward and for sharing that vulnerability with us. So I am CAE's anti-violence educator and advisor. It is a big title, but what it means is that I've been with the organization for a long time and teach our different workshops throughout our different programs. We have a self-defense program, an upstander program, and a youth program. And what we predominantly teach currently is called empowerment self-defense. We at CAE define self-defense as anything and everything that you do to keep yourself safe. And that contains many, many things that I'll touch on in a moment. But when we started, it was in 1974. And I love bringing up the idea of grassroots and the idea of starting with little. CAE started as the Brooklyn Women's Martial Arts Center. It was the first women's martial arts organization in the entire nation. And it was started by queer women in their apartments who didn't feel like they could trust the police and who wanted to learn how to protect themselves, so they started learning martial arts. That program has since expanded now to focus on hate-based and gender-based violence, addressing not only DV and IPV, gender-based and sexual violence, but also hate-based violence such as xenophobia, addressing, for example, we do what we call rapid response, which is where we react to what's happening in the world in real time. So during the pandemic, we worked with the Asian American Federation, AAF, to create a self-defense program specifically because of all of the AAPI hate violence and the uptick of that was happening as a result of the pandemic. Lots of information there. So currently, over these kind of 49, now almost 50 years, we've expanded our programming to teach what we call empowerment self-defense, which is beyond martial arts, about practical, usable strategies that we have. It's about holistic and trauma-informed training. It's about learning what to do not only to protect yourselves, but also to protect other people when you witness harassment, when you witness violence. Because we are in a safer world when we're not only able to protect ourselves, but also to protect each other. And in an ideal world, I would not have this job. This job would not exist. And so it's important that we work towards that idea of living a life where we can be free of this violence. So even though we started as a women's martial arts organization, we've since expanded, so we teach all over New York City in all of the 5 boroughs, prioritizing the needs of women, girls, TGNC, so trans and gender nonconforming folks, folks that are of the LGBTQ communities, POC communities, and really anybody who is at a higher risk of experiencing violence due to being targeted because of racism or xenophobia. Our mission really is to work to prevent, to disrupt, and to heal from hate violence in our communities using what we envision as a circle. So our self-defense circle is split into 3 parts. It's a continuum, split into your before, your during, and your after. Your before is before we're even in a conflict. So what are ways that we can keep ourselves safe? And everybody in the space, even if you've never taken a self-defense class before in your life, have practiced self-defense. You've made sure to be aware of your surroundings. You've told folks where you're going, if you're going